There are moments, rare, unexplainable moments, when life seems to pause without warning. Not because the world has stopped, but because something greater has stepped in. And this right now is one of those moments. You didn't just click here randomly. You didn't just stumble upon this message while scrolling, distracted, half aware. No, something deeper pulled you. Something beyond logic. Something beyond coincidence. And even now, as you sit here reading, there is a quiet voice inside you asking, why does this feel so personal? That question is your first confirmation. Because the truth is, this is not just a message. This is a divine interruption. Archangel Michael stands at the threshold of this moment, not as a distant symbol, but as a present force, watching, guiding, and now speaking. And what he reveals is not casual. It is not general. It is precise. It is intentional. It is meant for you. Have you noticed it? The strange pull you couldn't explain. The sudden stillness in your thoughts. The way your attention locked in, even when you had other things to do. That wasn't distraction. It was alignment. Because heaven has a pattern, and when it wants to reach you, it doesn't shout. It draws you in. Think about the last few days. The emotions that didn't quite make sense. The sudden memories. The feeling that something is about to change, even if you couldn't explain how or why. Maybe you brushed it off. Maybe you told yourself it was nothing. But deep down you felt it. That stirring wasn't random. It was preparation. There are seasons when life feels ordinary, repetitive, even heavy. And then, without warning, something shifts. Not loudly. Not dramatically at first, but subtle, like a door unlocking somewhere in the unseen. And you feel it before you understand it. That is where you are right now. Because May 14th is not just another date. It is not just another day passing on the calendar. It is a marked moment, a point in time that heaven has circled long before you ever arrived here. And Archangel Michael is not whispering, he is declaring, pay attention now. Do not ignore this moment. You see, there is something your soul has been waiting for, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. A connection. A union. A person. But before that revelation can unfold, something had to happen first. You had to be stopped. Interrupted. Pulled out of routine just long enough to hear this message clearly. Because if you had kept moving at the same pace, if you had stayed distracted, you might have missed what is about to be revealed. And this is where it becomes undeniable. Because the same way you were drawn here, someone else is being drawn toward you. Right now. At this exact moment. There is a soul, a beautiful soul, whose path is aligning with yours in ways you cannot yet see. Your thoughts have been shifting. Your heart hath been stirring. And just like you, they don't fully understand why. But heaven does. And heaven is moving both of you step by step toward something that will not just surprise you, it will change you. But here is the question you must ask yourself right now. Why you? Why this moment? Why this message? Because not everyone would have stopped to listen. Not everyone would have felt this pull. Not everyone would have stayed. What you did. And that means something. It means you are already in alignment with something greater than coincidence. It means you are being prepared not just to receive love, but to recognize it when it appears. So do not rush past this. Do not dismiss this as just another message. Because what begins here in this quiet, almost invisible moment is the first step towards something you have not yet imagined. And Archangel Michael is watching closely. Not to judge you, but to guide you. Because what comes next will require your awareness, your stillness, and your willingness to believe that something extraordinary is already unfolding behind the scenes. You are not early. You are not late. You are right on time. And this is only the beginning. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this message. Blessing code 1414 is now surrounding you. There are dates and then there are appointed moments. You have lived through countless days, watched weeks blur into months, and seen time pass without anything truly shifting. But every so often, heaven selects a specific day, not for everyone, but for a chosen few, and marks it with purpose, with alignment, with divine orchestration. And May 14th is one of those days for you. This is not about superstition. This is not about coincidence. This is about timing, the kind of timing that operates beyond human planning. Because long before you were aware of this moment, long before you felt this pull, something was already being arranged behind the scenes. Paths were being adjusted. Delays were being allowed. Encounters were being postponed. Not to deny you, but to position you. And now, you are standing at the edge of that positioning. Have you ever wondered why certain things in your life didn't work out, even when they seemed perfect at the time? Why certain relationships faded, even when you tried to hold on? Why certain doors closed without explanation, leaving you confused and questioning your worth? You may have called it bad timing. You may have called it loss. But what if it was actually protection? Because May 14th carries a weight that your past connections could not sustain. This is where many fail to understand the language of heaven. Not every delay is rejection. Not every ending is failure. Some endings are divine interruptions, clearing space for something that must arrive at the right moment or not at all. And if it had come earlier, you would not have recognized it. If it had come later, you might have missed it. So it was held back, preserved, guarded, until now. There is something about this specific date that aligns both you and the one being prepared for you. Not just emotionally, but spiritually. Not just externally, but internally. Because a union that is meant to last cannot be built on who you used to be. It must be built on who you have become through every lesson, every heartbreak, every silent night where you questioned if love would ever truly find you. And this is why the days leading up to now have felt different. Look back carefully. There has been a shift. Maybe subtle, maybe quiet, but real. Your thoughts have changed. Your tolerance has changed. The things you once accepted no longer feel right. The things you once chased no longer excite you the same way. You are not the same person you were months ago. A transformation was necessary. Because May 14th is not just about someone entering your life. It is about recognition. It is about the moment when two paths, refined separately, finally intersect in clarity instead of confusion. And Archangel Michael is revealing something deeper here. Something most people overlook. This date is not random for the other person either. They, too, have been going through a process. They, too, have experienced endings they didn't understand. They, too, have questioned timing, wondered why things didn't work, and felt that something was missing even when everything looked fine on the surface. You are not the only one being prepared. They are being aligned just as precisely. And on May 14th, something shifts, not necessarily in a loud, dramatic way, but in a way that becomes undeniable once it begins. A realization, a message, an encounter, a moment where everything suddenly feels different, as if something invisible has clicked into place. But here is the part you must understand clearly. Timing alone does not guarantee recognition. This is why this message reached you before the day arrives. Because awareness is required, stillness is required, discernment is required. If you remain distracted, if you continue moving without paying attention, you may overlook what is being placed directly in front of you. Heaven does not force, it reveals. And May 14th is a revelation point. This is why Archangel Michael is not gently suggesting. He is urging you to be alert, not fearful, not anxious, but aware. Because what is meant for you will not come with confusion. It will not feel forced. It will not require you to shrink or question your value. It will feel aligned. And when it happens, something inside you will recognize it before your mind fully understands it. That is the mark of divine timing. So do not treat this date lightly. Do not dismiss it as just another passing day. Because whether you realize it now or later, something has already been set into motion. The question is not whether it will happen. The question is whether you will be ready to see it when it does. Type "I trust divine timing" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2211 is now activated around your path. There are connections that come and go, brief encounters, fleeting emotions, temporary attachments that feel real in the moment but fade with time. And then there are assignments, divine unions that are not created by chance, not sustained by convenience, but orchestrated by something far greater than human desire. What Archangel Michael is revealing to you now belongs to that second kind. Because this is not about just anyone wanting you. This is about someone who has been chosen in alignment with your spirit. And that truth carries weight. You may have spent time wondering if real love exists in a way that feels secure, peaceful, and deeply rooted. You may have experienced moments where you gave your energy, your time, your loyalty, only to realize later that it was not returned in the same depth. And slowly, without even realizing it, a question formed within you: will the right person ever truly see me? That question did not go unheard. Because while you were asking it, heaven was answering it. There is a soul, a beautiful soul, who has been carrying a quiet knowing. They may not have said it out loud. They may not even fully understand it yet. But something within them has been shifting. A sense of readiness. A sense of clarity. A sense that what they are seeking is no longer found in temporary connections, but in something lasting, something real. And that shift is connected to you. This is where it becomes undeniable. Because divine unions do not begin at the moment of meeting. They begin long before, through preparation, through separation, through individual growth that happens in parallel. You were both being shaped, refined, and positioned without even realizing that your paths would eventually cross in a way that changes everything. Think about it carefully. There have been moments where you felt an unexplainable pull toward the idea of something deeper. Not just love, but commitment. Not just attraction, but alignment. You may have dismissed it, telling yourself to be realistic, to not expect too much. But that desire was not random. It was recognition for the encounter. And the same is happening on the other side. This person has reached a point where they are no longer willing to settle for surface-level connections. They have seen what does not work. They have experienced what does not last. And now, without fully realizing why, they are being drawn towards something that feels different. Toward you. But here is what Archangel Michael wants you to understand clearly. This union is not built on urgency. It is built on readiness. Because what is being aligned here is not just emotional. It is spiritual. And spiritual alignment requires timing, awareness, and the ability to recognize what stands in front of you without letting fear distort it. This is why the whisper is quiet, not loud, not overwhelming. Because what is real does not need to force itself into your life. It arrives with a sense of calm certainty, a feeling that does not rush you, but instead grounds you. And when this person steps into your awareness, something inside you will respond, not with confusion, not with doubt, but with a strange sense of familiarity, as if, in some way, your spirit already knows them even if your mind is just beginning to catch up. That is the mark of a chosen connection. But there is something else you must not overlook, because not everyone is ready to receive what they have been asking for. Sometimes, when something real approaches, the mind tries to protect itself by questioning it, analyzing it, or even pulling away from it. Not because it is wrong, but because it is unfamiliar in its step. This is the moment where many miss what was meant for them, because they expect intensity instead of peace. They expect uncertainty instead of clarity. They expect struggle instead of alignment. Do not make that mistake, because this union is not meant to confuse you. It is meant to confirm you. And as this realization begins to unfold, you will start to notice something shifting within you. A deeper sense of calm, a clearer understanding of what you truly want, a quiet confidence that what is coming is not something you have to chase, but something that is already moving toward you. At the same time, at the same pace, in the same alignment. This is the whisper of union, and it is closer than you think. But remember this. Recognition requires presence. If your mind is scattered, if your focus is elsewhere, if you allow distractions to pull you away from your awareness, you may overlook the very thing you have been waiting for. So stay present. Stay aware. Because the moment of connection is not approaching randomly, it is approaching intentionally. And when it arrives, it will not need to convince you. You will simply know. Type "I am open to true love" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 333 is now activated around your heart. As this truth settles into your spirit, understand this. Every time a message like this reaches you, it is not just for you. It is for countless souls who are still searching, still waiting, still hoping for clarity in the darkness. When you choose to support this mission through super thanks or a PayPal offering, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing a seed into a divine movement that carries light into places where confusion once lived. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not a distant promise. It is a living flow that returns to you in ways you cannot yet see. If you feel this stirring inside you, act on it now, because obedience in this moment opens doors that delay cannot. Your seed becomes someone else's answered prayer. Your giving becomes a river that reaches those still lost in silence. I declare that every offering you release will return as multiplied favor, clarity, and divine connection in your own life. Step into this moment, give with intention, give with faith, and watch heaven respond. There is something deeper unfolding here, something that goes beyond future events and steps into a truth that may surprise you. Because what if this connection you are being prepared for is not entirely new? What if the soul that is aligning with yours is not a stranger but someone your life has already brushed against in a subtle, almost unnoticeable way? This is where many people misunderstand divine timing. They assume that when something significant is meant to happen, it will arrive loudly, dramatically, with undeniable clarity from the very beginning. But that is not how heaven often works. Sometimes, what is meant for you enters your life quietly first, without labels, without intensity, without immediate recognition. And only later, when the timing is right, does the meaning reveal itself. Think carefully. Have you ever met someone who felt different, even if you couldn't explain why at the time? A conversation that lingered in your mind longer than it should have. A presence that felt calm, familiar, all is grounding, yet you move on from it without giving it much thought. At the time, it may have seemed ordinary, but now, looking back, something about it feels significant. That is not coincidence. That is what Archangel Michael is revealing as a hidden connection. Because not all important people enter your life with immediate impact. Some arrive as seeds not yet ready to grow, placed in your path until the right moment comes for them to return with purpose. And when they return, the connection does not start from zero. It continues from where it was quietly planted. This is why there hath been a sense of familiarity surrounding what is coming. Because your spirit recognizes alignment before your mind can explain it. There is a strong possibility that you have already crossed paths with this person in some form. It may have been brief. It may have been indirect. It may have happened in a way that seemed too small to matter at the time. But the truth is, what felt small then may reveal itself as significant now. And this is where your awareness becomes important. Because when this person reappears, or when your connection with them deepens, you may feel a strange sense of recognition. Not because you consciously remember every detail, but because something within you responds instantly. A sense of ease, a sense of understanding, a sense that you do not have to explain yourself as much as you have had to with others. That feeling is not imagination. It is alignment resurfacing. But here is what you must be careful of. Because sometimes, when something real approaches, the mind tries to dismiss it by labeling it as just coincidence or nothing special. This happens especially when the initial connection did not seem extraordinary. You may tell yourself, if this was important, I would have noticed it before. But that is not how divine connections always operate. They unfold in layers. First a subtle introduction, then a period of distance or silence, and finally a return, stronger, clearer, and impossible to ignore. You are entering that third phase now. This is why Archangel Michael is bringing this awareness to you before everything becomes obvious. Because when the moment arrives, you must not overlook it by relying only on past impressions. You must allow yourself to see the connection as it is now, not as it appeared before. People change. You have changed. And so has this person. What once seemed like a simple interaction may now carry a depth that was not visible before. Conversations may feel more meaningful. Presence may feel more intentional. And the connection may begin to unfold in a way that feels natural, not forced. This is how you will recognize it. Not through pressure, not through confusion, but through a steady, undeniable sense that something is aligning without effort. And yet, there is another layer to this that you must understand. Because the hidden connection is not only about past interaction, it is also about spiritual familiarity. Even if you do not clearly remember meeting this person before, there may still be a sense that you already understand them on a deeper level, as if your energy naturally adjusts in their presence, as if communication flows without constant explanation. It is not something that can be manufactured. It is something that is revealed. And when it reveals itself, you will not feel the need to chase it, question it, or force it into meaning. It will simply make sense. But only if you allow yourself to be present enough to notice it. This is why distractions are dangerous at this stage. If your focus is scattered, if your attention is divided, you may miss the subtle signals that indicate this connection is unfolding right in front of you. So slow down. Pay attention to the people re-entering your life. Notice the conversations that feel different. Observe the interactions that carry a sense of ease rather than effort. Because what you are looking for is not something loud. It is something real. And real connections do not need to announce themselves. They reveal themselves quietly, clearly, and at the exact moment you are ready to see them. Type "I recognize what is meant for me" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 444 is now aligning your awareness. There is a question that has echoed through your journey more times than you can count, a quiet, sometimes frustrating question that you may not have spoken out loud, but you have felt deeply. Why did it take so long? Why did the right connection not arrive when you were ready for it? Why did you have to go through cycles of disappointment, confusion, and emotional exhaustion before reaching this point? The answer is not simple, but it is clear. You were not just waiting. You were being prepared. And preparation is rarely comfortable, because what you are stepping into now could not have been sustained by the version of you that existed before. It required growth, not surface-level growth, but internal transformation. The kind that changes how you see yourself, how you set boundaries, how you interpret actions, and most importantly, how you recognize what is truly aligned with you. Think back to who you were in the past. There were things you tolerated that you would not tolerate now. There were behaviors you excused that you would now question immediately. There were connections you held on to simply because they felt familiar, even if they were not fulfilling. At that time, you may have believed that was the best you could find. But now you know better. That shift did not happen overnight. It came through experiences that forced you to reevaluate everything. And that is why the waiting felt heavy. Because it was not empty waiting, it was active shaping. Every disappointment you faced was revealing something to you. Every delay was protecting you from stepping into something that looked right on the surface but lacked the depth required for what you truly needed. And every moment of silence, every period where nothing seemed to move forward, was creating space for clarity to develop within you. This is what most people misunderstand about divine timing. They think waiting means nothing is happening. But in reality, waiting is when everything important is happening internally. Because without that internal shift, you would not be able to recognize what is real when it finally appears. You would mistake it for something ordinary. Or worse, you would sabotage it by trying to fit it into patterns that no longer serve you. And that is exactly what this preparation has prevented. You are no longer approaching connections from a place of need. You are approaching them from a place of awareness. That alone changes everything. Because now, you are not looking for someone to complete you. You are looking for someone who aligns with you. And the distinction is what makes this moment different from everything that came before. But this preparation was not only happening within you. The person being aligned with you was also going through their own process, your own lessons, their own realizations, your own moments of understanding what they truly need, rather than what they thought they wanted. If you had met them before this preparation was complete, the connection would not have reached its full potential. It may have started, but it would not have lasted. Not because it was wrong, but because it was early. And early connections, even when they feel strong, often collapse under the weight of unpreparedness. This is why the delay was necessary. Not to deny you, but to protect the outcome. Archangel Michael is making this clear because there is a tendency to look back at past timing and question it, to wonder if something was missed or lost. But nothing that is truly meant for you can be lost due to timing. It can only be delayed until the moment it can fully manifest without resistance. And that moment is approaching now. But here is what you must understand as you stand at this threshold. Preparation does not end the moment the connection arrives. It continues through how you respond to it. This means you must not revert to old patterns of overthinking, doubting, or trying to control the outcome. The same awareness that was built within you during the waiting period must now be carried forward into the connection itself. Because what is coming does not require force. It requires presence. It requires you to trust what you feel without immediately questioning it, to allow things to unfold without rushing to define them too quickly, to observe, to experience, and to let the connection reveal itself naturally. This is where your preparation will show its value, not in what you say, but in how you respond. You are no longer the version of yourself that needed to chase clarity. You are now the version that recognizes it when it appears. And that is why the waiting had to happen. Not because you were not ready for love, but because you were being prepared for the right kind of love. The kind that does not leave you questioning your place. The kind that does not make you feel uncertain about where you stand. The kind that aligns with who you have become, not who you used to be. So do not look back at the waiting as time lost. Look at it as time invested. Because everything you went through was shaping you for this exact moment. And now you are ready to receive what you once had to wait for. Type "I trust the process" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 555 is now strengthening your path. There is a reason your curiosity has been building, a reason your spirit is leaning in, asking silently, who is this person? Because deep within you, there is a desire not just to experience the connection but to recognize it clearly. And Archangel Michael is addressing that exact question now, not by handing you a name directly, but by revealing how it will be shown to you. Because the truth is, divine revelations rarely arrive in the way people expect. They are not forced. They are not shouted. They are revealed layer by layer, in moments that feel natural, yet carry undeniable significance. You must understand this first. If a name were simply given to you without context, without alignment, without experience, your mind would question it. You would doubt it. You would try to analyze it instead of allowing it to unfold. And that doubt would create resistance. That is why heaven does not work that way. Instead, it prepares you to recognize the name when it appears, rather than forcing it upon you before you are ready to receive it. And this is where your awareness becomes everything. Because the name will not come in isolation. It will come through connection, through conversation, through repeated presence, through a series of moments that gradually build a sense of certainty within you. At first, it may seem simple. You may hear the name casually, without attaching much importance to it. But then, something unusual begins to happen. The same name appears again in a different context, then again in another moment. Not in a way that feels forced, but in a way that feels noticeable. That is the first signal. Repetition with meaning. Because when something is meant for you, it begins to echo in your awareness. You may encounter this person more than once, in ways that feel coincidental at first. Or you may notice their name surfacing in conversations, messages, or interactions that seem unrelated yet somehow connected. And slowly, without you trying to make sense of it, a pattern begins to form. That pattern is not random. It is revelation unfolding. But here is where many make a mistake. They rush to conclusions too early. They try to label something before it has fully revealed itself. They attach meaning to the first sign instead of allowing the full picture to develop. And in doing so, they create confusion where there should be clarity. You must not do that, because the name that is meant for you will not need to be forced into meaning. It will become clear through consistency, through the way the connection develops, through the way communication flows, through the way presence feels, and most importantly, through the way your spirit responds. There will be a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable to anyone else, where something within you simply settles. A moment where you no longer question whether this is significant. A moment where the name no longer feels like just a name but like something familiar, something grounded, something real. That is when you will know. Not because someone told you, not because you guessed it, but because it revealed itself in a way that left no confusion. Archangel Michael is guiding you toward that recognition, but he is also warning you of something important. Do not let impatience interfere with clarity, because when curiosity turns into urgency, it can distort perception. You may start looking for signs everywhere, trying to force an answer before it is ready to be revealed. And in doing so, you may overlook the simplicity of what is actually unfolding. This revelation is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to unfold naturally, and that requires trust. Trust in timing. Trust in your awareness. Trust in the process that has already been guiding you this far, because everything you have experienced up to this point had been preparing you for this exact moment, not just to meet this person, but to recognize them without confusion. And when that moment arrives, it will not feel dramatic. It will feel clear. It will feel steady. It will feel like something that does not need to be questioned, because it aligns so naturally with what you have been prepared to receive. This is the difference between something imagined and something real. What is imagined requires effort to believe. What is real simply is to stay aware, stay present, and allow the name to come to you in the way it is meant to, not as something you chase, but as something that reveals itself through alignment, repetition, and undeniable clarity. Because when it does, you will not need confirmation from anyone else. You will already know. Type ISE clearly in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 666 is now activating clarity in your path. Here is something even deeper than the connection itself, something that goes beyond emotions, beyond attraction, beyond the idea of companionship. Because what Archangel Michael is revealing now is not just about who this person is, but about what they carry into your life. And this is where everything begins to shift from curiosity into understanding. Because this person is not arriving empty-handed. They are arriving with a gift, not a material object, not something temporary, but something far more significant. Something that will affect the direction of your life in ways you have not yet fully imagined. This is where you must listen carefully, because many people focus only on the feeling of love when they think about a connection. They look for chemistry, excitement, or emotional intensity. But what they often overlook is the deeper question: what does this person bring into my life beyond emotion? That is where true alignment is revealed. And the person being aligned with you carries something that complements you, strengthens you, and expands you. This gift is not random. It is intentional. It has been shaped through their own experiences, just as you have been shaped through yours. Everything they have gone through, their lessons, their growth, their challenges, has prepared them to carry something that will meet you exactly where you are now. And when this connection unfolds, you will begin to notice it. Not all at once, but gradually. At first, it may feel like a sense of ease, conversations that flow without effort, a presence that does not drain you, but instead brings a quiet sense of clarity. You may find yourself thinking differently, seeing things from a new perspective, feeling more grounded in ways you cannot fully explain. That is the beginning of the gift revealing itself. Because this person does not just bring love, they bring alignment. They bring a way of seeing life that connects with yours, yet also expands it. They challenge you, not through conflict, but through perspective. They support you, not by controlling you, but by standing beside you in a way that strengthens your sense of self. And this is where it becomes clear that this connection is different from what you have experienced before. Because it does not create confusion. It creates clarity. It does not make you question your value. It reinforces it. It does not pull you into uncertainty. It steadies you. This is the nature of the gift. But there is something even more important that you must understand. Because this gift is not one-sided. Just as they are bringing something into your life, you are bringing something into theirs. This is not about one person completing the other. It is about two individuals, already whole in their own ways, coming together to create something that neither could fully experience alone. That is where destiny comes into play. Because this connection is not only about the present, it is about what unfolds because of it. The paths that open, the decisions that become clear, the direction your life begins to take as a result of this alignment. There will be moments where you realize that certain things are happening not just because of your individual efforts, but because of the presence of this connection in your life. Opportunities may arise. Clarity may increase. Situations that once felt uncertain may begin to make sense. That is not coincidence. That is the impact of aligned energy. And yet, there is something you must remain aware of as this begins to unfold. Not all gifts are immediately recognized for what they are. Sometimes, when something real enters your life, it may feel unfamiliar simply because it is not chaotic. It may feel different because it does not carry the same patterns you have experienced before. And in those moments, the mind may try to question it, not because it is wrong, but because it is new in its stability. You must not let that cause you to pull away, because what is steady is not lacking. What is calm is not empty. What is clear is not boring. It is simply real. And real connections often feel different from what you have been conditioned to expect. This is why Archangel Michael is guiding you to remain aware, not just of the person, but of what they bring into your life. To recognize the difference between temporary attraction and lasting alignment. To see beyond the surface and understand the depth of what is being offered to you. Because this is not just about love. It is about direction. It is about growth. It is about stepping into a path that is supported, not hindered, by the connection you choose to accept. And as this begins to reveal itself, you will not need to force meaning into it. You will feel it. In the way your thoughts become clearer. In the way your energy feels more balanced. In the way your life begins to move with a sense of ease rather than resistance. That is the gift. And that is how you will know that this connection is not just something you wanted, but something that was meant to align with your life at the right moment. Type "I receive what is meant for me" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 777 is now activating alignment in your life. There is always a moment just before something significant enters your life where everything seems to slow down, intensify, or even feel uncertain. It is a moment that many misunderstand, a moment that feels like resistance but is actually refinement. And this is where you are right now. Because before this connection fully reveals itself, before the clarity becomes undeniable, there is a test. Not a test designed to make you fail, but a test designed to reveal whether you are truly ready to receive what you have been prepared for. Archangel Michael is making this clear because this stage is where many people unknowingly disrupt what was meant for them. Not because the connection is wrong, but because their response is misaligned. And the test is simple in nature but powerful in impact. It is the test of reaction versus awareness. You may begin to notice certain situations arising around you. Old patterns may attempt to resurface. People from your past may suddenly reappear. Conversations may trigger emotions you thought you had already moved beyond. There may even be moments where doubt tries to enter your mind, questioning whether anything real is actually unfolding. This is not coincidence. This is the test. Because before something new can fully enter your life, The old must make one final attempt to pull you back into what is familiar, not because it has power over you, but because it recognizes that you are about to move beyond it. And here is what you must not do. Do not react impulsively. Do not return to what you have already outgrown. Do not allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent decisions. Because the moment you respond from old patterns, you momentarily disconnect from the alignment you have been building. This is why awareness is everything. You must observe what is happening without immediately engaging with it. You must recognize the difference between what is aligned with your growth and what is simply repeating itself to test your readiness. There may be a situation where someone from your past reaches out unexpectedly. They may speak in a way that feels familiar, even comforting. They may remind you of moments that once felt meaningful, and for a brief moment, you may feel pulled toward responding in the same way you once did. Pause. Because this is not about the person. It is about your response. The test is not whether they return. The test is whether you remain the same or whether you have truly changed. And this applies beyond people. It applies to your thoughts, your habits, your emotional patterns. You may feel the urge to overthink, to analyze, to search for answers before they naturally reveal themselves. You may feel impatience rising, wanting clarity immediately rather than allowing it to unfold. You may even feel moments of doubt, questioning whether you are interpreting everything correctly. Do not let these impulses control you, because what is meant for you does not require you to chase it through confusion. It requires you to remain steady enough to recognize it in clarity. This is why Archangel Michael is urging you to stay grounded now more than ever. Because the blessing is not delayed, it is approaching. But the test determines how you receive it. If you react from old habits, you create unnecessary resistance. If you remain aware, you allow alignment to continue without interruption. And this is where the shift happens. Because when you choose awareness over reaction, something within you stabilizes. You begin to see situations for what they are, rather than what they appear to be in the moment. You recognize patterns without becoming part of them. You observe without being pulled into confusion. That is when you know you have passed the test. Not because something dramatic happens, but because your response remains consistent with who you have become. And once this test is passed, everything begins to feel clearer. The distractions lose their pull. The uncertainty fades. And what remains is a direct path toward what is aligned with you. This is why this stage is so important. Because it is the final separation between your past patterns and your present alignment. And what you choose now determines how smoothly the next phase unfolds. So remain still. Remain aware. And most importantly, remain true to the version of yourself that has been prepared for this moment. Because what is coming does not require you to prove anything. It only requires you to not go backward. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 888 is now strengthening your discernment. As you stand in this moment of testing and preparation, understand that every step you take in alignment becomes a light for someone else still lost in confusion. When you release your support through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are sowing into a mission that carries truth, clarity, and divine direction to souls who are still searching. The word speaks, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days," and this is a living promise that returns multiplied into your life. I invite you now, step forward with intention, because this moment is not ordinary. It is a call to act in faith. Your giving becomes a seed that unlocks revelation not only for others, but for your own path. I declare that every seed you release now will return to you as clarity, connection, and divine acceleration. Do not delay. Move in obedience, and let your action become part of something eternal. There is a reason things have started to feel slightly unsettled, a reason why, just as clarity begins to form, something tries to interrupt it. A sudden wave of overthinking, a distraction that pulls your focus away, a moment of doubt that was not there before. And you may find yourself asking, why now, when everything was starting to make sense? Because this is the moment where distraction becomes intentional. Archangel Michael is revealing something critical here, something that most people overlook. Whenever alignment begins to take shape, whenever something real starts moving toward you, there is always an opposing force that attempts to distort your perception before you can fully recognize what is happening. Not to destroy what is meant for you, but to confuse you enough that you miss it yourself. This is how distraction operates. It does not always appear as something obviously negative. It does not always come in the form of chaos or conflict. Sometimes, it appears as something subtle, something that feels normal, even harmless at first. An unexpected conversation, a sudden emotional reaction, a thought that repeats itself just enough to make you question your clarity. And slowly, without realizing it, your focus begins to shift away from what truly matters. That is how distraction gains power, not through force but through misdirection. Because if your attention is divided, your awareness weakens. And if your awareness weakens, recognition becomes delayed. This is why confusion seems to increase right before something important unfolds. Not because you are losing clarity, but because something is trying to interrupt your ability to hold on to it. Think about the past few days. Have there been moments where your mind felt unusually busy? Where you found yourself overanalyzing situations that normally would not affect you as much? Where small things seem to carry more weight than they should? That is not random. That is distraction attempting to take hold. And here is where you must be careful. Because the more you engage with these thoughts, the stronger they become. The more you try to solve something that is not actually a problem, the more you create confusion where there was none to begin with. This is how people lose alignment without realizing it. They do not make one major mistake. They simply allow their focus to drift little by little until they are no longer present enough to recognize what is right in front of them. And that is exactly what must not happen now. Because what is approaching does not come with confusion. It comes with clarity. But clarity can only be recognized if your mind is not clouded by unnecessary noise. This is why Archangel Michael is urging you to take control of your focus. Not by forcing yourself to ignore everything around you, but by becoming aware of what deserves your attention and what does not. You must begin to notice the difference between thoughts that guide you and thoughts that drain you. Between situations that align with your growth and situations that pull you back into old patterns. Between connections that feel steady and distractions that feel urgent but lead nowhere. Because not everything that demands your attention deserves it. And right now, your attention is valuable. More valuable than you may realize. Because where your attention goes, your energy follows. And where your energy goes, your experience is shaped. This is why the enemy of your alignment does not need to stop what is coming. It only needs to redirect your focus long enough for you to overlook it. But that only works if you allow it. So here is what you must do. Slow down. Not physically but mentally. Create space between your thoughts and your reactions. When something feels confusing, do not immediately try to solve it. When something pulls at your emotions, do not immediately respond to it. Give yourself the distance needed to observe rather than react. Because clarity does not come from urgency. It comes from stillness. And in that stillness, something important happens. A noise begins to fade. The distractions lose their intensity, and what remains is what is real. This is how you protect your alignment, not by fighting distractions, but by refusing to give them your focus. And as you begin to do this, you will notice something shifting again. The confusion will not disappear all at once, but it will weaken. Moment by moment, thought by thought, until it no longer has the ability to pull you away from what is meant for you. And when that happens, your awareness sharpens, your perception clears, and the path in front of you becomes unmistakable. This is where you must remain, not in reaction, not in distraction, but in clear, steady awareness. Because what is coming does not need to fight for your attention. It only needs you to be present enough to see it. Type "I release all distractions" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 999 is now clearing your path. There is a moment, a very specific moment, where everything that has been building quietly behind the scenes begins to take form in the physical world. Not as an idea, not as a feeling, but as a real encounter. And what Archangel Michael is revealing now is how this moment will unfold, because it will not arrive the way most people expect. It will not begin with overwhelming intensity. It will not feel forced. It will not come with pressure to define everything immediately. Instead, it will begin in a way that feels almost natural, yet carries an underlying sense that something about it is different. This is where many people make a mistake. They expect the moment of encounter to be dramatic, to stand out instantly, to feel like something out of the ordinary from the very first second. But divine alignment does not always announce itself loudly. It reveals itself through subtle certainty. You may meet this person in a setting that feels familiar, a place you did not plan for something significant to happen, a moment where your guard is down, where you are simply present rather than searching. And that is exactly why it works, because you are not forcing anything. The encounter will feel easy. Conversation will not feel strained. There will be no need to impress, no need to over-explain, no need to question every word. Instead, there will be a natural flow, as if both of you are simply continuing something that had already begun on a deeper level. And this is where you must pay attention, because the beginning will not try to convince you. It will simply align with you. There may be a moment where eye contact lingers just a second longer than usual. A pause in conversation that feels comfortable instead of awkward. A sense that you are fully present, not distracted, not thinking about what comes next, just aware of what is happening in that moment. That is the signal. Not intensity, not urgency, but presence. And as the interaction continues, something else will begin to reveal itself. A sense of familiarity that does not come from memory alone, but from energy. You may feel as though you understand this person more quickly than expected, as though communication does not require effort, as though there is a shared rhythm that does not need to be explained. This is not coincidence. This is recognition unfolding in real time. But here is what you must not do. Do not rush to define the connection. Do not try to label it too early. Do not let your mind move ahead of the moment, because the strength of this encounter lies in its natural progression. If you attempt to control it, to analyze it, or to force clarity too soon, you disrupt the very alignment that is allowing it to unfold smoothly. This is why Archangel Michael is guiding you to remain grounded in the present. Because the encounter is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to introduce you to something real, something that reveals itself over time rather than all at once. There may be a moment after the interaction where you find yourself reflecting on it without trying to. Not obsessing, not overthinking, but simply noticing that it stayed with you. that it felt different from other interactions you have had. That is how you will know it mattered. Not because it demanded your attention, but because it naturally held it. And as time moves forward, the connection will begin to build, not through sudden intensity, but through consistency. Communication will continue. Opportunities to interact will arise. And with each interaction, the sense of alignment will become clearer. This is where the foundation is formed, not in one moment, but in a series of moments that reinforce each other. And through this process, something important will happen. Your certainty will grow, not because you are convincing yourself of anything, but because the connection itself provides the clarity you need. This is the difference between something imagined and something real. What is imagined requires constant validation. What is real validates itself through experience. And as this encounter transitions into a connection, you will begin to see how everything you have been guided through, every lesson, every moment of preparation, was leading to this point. But only if you allow it to unfold. So remain present, remain steady, and most importantly, remain open to experiencing the moment without trying to control it. Because this encounter is not the end of something. It is the beginning of something that will reveal itself step by step in perfect alignment with everything you have been prepared to receive. Type "I am present in the moment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now grounding your awareness. There is a difference, a profound, unmistakable difference between a connection that is built on circumstance and one that is rooted in covenant. And what Archangel Michael is revealing now is that what you are stepping into is not simply a relationship that happens because two people meet, feel something, and decide to move forward. No, this is something deeper, something structured beyond emotion, something that carries intention from the very beginning. Because a covenant is not based on temporary feelings. It is based on alignment that endures beyond changing seasons. This is why this connection will feel different from anything you have experienced before. Not because it will be perfect, not because there will never be challenges, but because the foundation it stands on is not fragile. It is not dependent on constant reassurance, nor is it shaken by every moment of uncertainty. It is steady, and that steadiness is what makes it powerful. In the past, you may have encountered connections that started with intensity but lacked consistency. Moments that felt strong in the beginning but slowly faded when faced with reality. Situations where emotions were high but clarity was low. And over time, those experiences may have shaped your expectations, causing you to associate strong beginnings with uncertainty in outcomes. But this is not that. This is where the shift becomes undeniable. Because when a covenant begins to activate, it does not rely on intensity to prove its value. It reveals itself through consistency, clarity, and mutual understanding. There is no constant questioning of where you stand. There is no need to chase validation. There is no feeling of imbalance where one gives more than the other. Instead, there is a natural sense of mutual movement. Both of you showing up. Both of you engaging. Both of you building something that does not feel forced, but rather aligned. This is what makes this union different. And this is why it carries a deeper level of significance. Because it is not just about two individuals choosing each other. It is about two paths that have been shaped separately now coming together with purpose. There will be moments where you begin to realize that this connection is influencing more than just your emotions. It will begin to impact your decisions, your direction, the way you approach your future. Conversations will naturally move toward growth, toward stability, toward building something meaningful rather than just experiencing something temporary. That is the activation of covenant. It shifts the focus from what do I feel right now to what are we creating together. And this is where many people become uncertain, not because something is wrong, but because something is real. Because real connections require presence. They require responsibility. They require the willingness to remain consistent even when the initial excitement settles into something deeper. And for those who are used to inconsistency, this can feel unfamiliar at first. But unfamiliar does not mean incorrect. It means you are stepping into something that operates differently from what you have known. And this is why Archangel Michael is guiding you to recognize the difference between what is temporary and what is lasting. Because temporary connections often feel urgent. They rush. They demand immediate answers. They create pressure to define everything quickly. But current connections unfold with intentional pace. They allow space for understanding. They build gradually, without losing direction. They do not need to force progression, because the progression happens naturally through alignment. And as this begins to take form in your life, you will notice something important. Your sense of stability will increase. Not because everything becomes predictable, but because the foundation feels secure. You will not feel the need to constantly question whether this will last. You will not feel the same uncertainty that once made you second-guess your place in someone's life. Instead, there will be a quiet confidence, a knowing that does not need to be proven repeatedly. This is what covenant feels like. It does not overwhelm you. It grounds you. And as this grounding becomes stronger, the idea of marriage no longer feels like a distant possibility or an uncertain outcome. It begins to feel like a natural extension of what is already being built. Not something forced into existence, but something that grows out of the connection itself. That is when you know this is different. Not because someone says it, but because everything about it reflects stability, clarity, and shared direction. This is the activation. And once it begins, it does not rely on external validation. It sustains itself through the alignment that brought it into existence. So remain aware of this difference. Do not compare it to what you have experienced before. Do not expect it to follow the same patterns. Because this is not meant to repeat your past. It is meant to replace it with something that aligns with who you are now. And as this covenant continues to unfold, you will not need to question whether it is real. You will feel it in the way it holds steady, even when everything else shifts. Type "I accept divine union" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now sealing your path. There comes a moment after all the signs, after all the preparation, after all the quiet alignment where everything pauses, and one truth stands in front of you with complete clarity. What happens next depends on you. Not on timing anymore. Not on signs. Not on waiting. But on your response. Because everything that has been unfolding, every realization, every shift, every moment of awareness, has been leading to this point. A point where you are no longer being prepared, you are being positioned to choose. And this is where many people hesitate. Not because they do not want what is coming, but because receiving something real requires a different kind of courage than waiting for it. It is easy to hope for something. It is easy to imagine it. It is easy to desire it from a distance. But when it begins to take form in front of you, when it becomes real, tangible, and present, that is when the mind begins to question, to analyze, to search for reasons to delay. This is the final test, not of your worth, but of your readiness to accept what you have been given. Because the connection that is approaching you does not need to be chased, forced, or proven. It has already been aligned. It has already been prepared. It has already been set into motion in ways you could not control even if you tried. But alignment alone is not enough. You must receive it without resistance. This means letting go of the need to overanalyze every detail, letting go of the fear that something might go wrong, letting go of the habit of questioning whether something is too good to be real, because what is real does not need to be doubted into understanding. It needs to be experienced with presence. There may be a moment, very soon, where you feel the shift completely, a moment where everything you have been sensing becomes clear, where the connection no longer feels like a possibility, but a reality standing directly in front of you. And in that moment, you will have a choice: to step forward or to hesitate, to trust or to question, to accept or to delay. And understand this clearly: hesitation does not always come from logic. It often comes from familiarity. The mind tries to protect itself by holding on to what it knows, even if what it knows is no longer aligned with your growth. But you are not the same person you were before. You have been prepared for this. You have been shaped for this. You have been guided to this exact point so that when the moment arrives, you are able to recognize it and respond without fear. This is why Archangel Michael is not just revealing what is coming. He is calling you to act in alignment with it. Because opportunities do not always wait. Moments of clarity do not always repeat. And when something real stands in front of you, it must be met with presence, not hesitation. This does not mean rushing into something blindly. It means trusting what is being revealed to you without trying to control it. It means allowing the connection to unfold while remaining grounded in who you have become. It means choosing to move forward not because you are certain of every detail, but because you are aligned with what you feel. That is the difference between fear and readiness. Fear waits for certainty before acting. Readiness acts with awareness, even when every detail is not yet visible. And you are being called into readiness. So when the moment comes, do not shrink back. Do not return to old patterns of doubt. Do not convince yourself to wait for a better time. Because this is the time. This is the moment that everything has been building toward. And your response will determine how it unfolds. Not whether it happens, but how fully you allow yourself to step into it. So stand firm in who you have become. Remain open to what is arriving. And most importantly, trust that you would not have been brought this far only to miss what is meant for you. This is your call. This is your moment. And what you choose now shapes everything that follows. Type "I accept my destiny" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now sealing your union. As this message comes to its completion, understand this with full clarity. What you have just received is not only for you. It is a living stream meant to reach countless others who are still waiting for their moment of awakening. When you give through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description and QR code, you are not supporting a video. You are igniting a chain of divine encounters that carry truth into lives that are still searching in silence. The word speaks directly to you now. Those who sow in faith will reap in abundance. And this is not distant scripture. It is a present activation over your life. I speak this as a personal invitation. Step forward now and release your seed, because this moment is sacred and time-sensitive. Your giving becomes light. Your obedience becomes a doorway. Your action becomes a ripple that reaches souls you may never meet. I declare that as you give, heaven responds with multiplied favor, deeper connection, and accelerated alignment in your own journey. Do not delay. Move now, sow now, and become part of what God is unfolding through this message.